Hey, this is Jack Chris from Multiples Magic, bringing you another video on the Wintermute Black from the Spherical Sound Society, paired with the Roland P-6. I've had a request to show how I can quickly sample some of the sounds coming out of the Wintermute. It's a machine that's meant to be recorded. What more perfect to take on the road with you or just to sample with quickly than the Roland P-6. With the Roland P-6, it's a sampler and a granular synth, but we're going to really focus on how to sample and, use some of the effects quickly. And then you can play with it from there. So first of all, I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit. So I've got this groove going on. I have my line running out from the Wintermute to the line in for the Roland P-6 with a line coming out, the headphone jack or the output, into my Focusrite. So, in order to record on the Roland P-6, you need to find a sample pad that is open. It comes preloaded. I'm going to turn this down because it'll be probably pretty loud. It comes with preloaded with samples, and you have to find something that you're comfortable with removing. Usually I take some vocal chops and remove those because I feel like I can overwrite those with something more custom, to my taste. So anyways, we've got pad 6. There's a bank of actually 48 sample pads you can use. There's four banks, actually 8, because each of these you can toggle them. Like this is either bank B or bank F. I'm going back to bank B because that's where my open sample spot would be. So I'm gonna kind of count out this sample. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna record it. Hit the sample button. Then you hit your sample pad, and the sample button blinks. You can actually read the levels here. So it's a pretty decent level coming in. It's not oversaturated. We should have pretty good quality recording. Speaking of which, we can control the sample mode here. We're going with the highest sample rate, 44.1. And I'm actually going to go from stereo to mono to ensure I have enough space to record this. It is a limitation of a portable sampler. You don't have the sample space that you would with PC, running Ableton or such. So without further ado, like I said, I'm going to count it out and sample it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hit on 1 and stop on 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Now it's normalizing. You can see the progress bar. It's writing. And I'm done sampling that. So let me turn down the volume, and I'll quickly remove the Wintermute without blowing out my speakers or your eardrums. And we can test this out. We did capture it. Let's see how our loop works. It's simply pressing that loop. It'll loop your sample for you. The hiss is actually coming from my amplification from my Focusrite. So now we've got that. If you counted it out right, it works just perfectly. If you don't, you can control the beginning and ending times of your samples. That's the start. Use the S for start. You can control the end as well. Okay, so once you've got your sample loaded onto one of the pads of the P-6, whether you take that sample from the Wintermute Black, another device, or if you're using the internal mic on the P-6, the best way to manipulate it is to really put it on loop so you can get a real handle on the effects. So I'm going to start that off. And I like to go to the pitch button. Adds a little bit, so then you can manipulate. We can add delay that way. There's another way to add delay, and I'll show you. I'll show you that in just a minute. One thing I like to mess around with is the scatter. You have to turn it on with this knob. Get some wild sounds from this. Just from one sample coming out of the Wintermute Black. You can really manipulate it, do some crazy stuff, or turn it off. Filter. Feels like I'm outside the club. Bring those highs back in. So I talked about another way to get to a reverb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get over to, you hold shift and go to mixer. And then once you do that, you can, there's levels, adjust the level, adjust the panning, that's auto pan, manual pan, out buzz to B, out buzz B. Now this is what I'm looking for. This is send delay. So I'm going to hit enter and then add a little delay. At first it's subtle, you have to make some pretty drastic knob changes. Bring it back to original. Then if you exit, you're still in the menu for the mixer. You have to press exit again to get out of that completely. And I'm going to go to reverb, press enter, 0 is the value at first. can hear it kind of opening up. I'm just actually, I'm going to go to the delay with the pitch effect on. All right, so those are the sends to reverb and delay. Of course, you can bit crush it a little bit if you want. A little lo-fi action there. I'm going to go over to the voice menu. So I'm going to exit out. And now when you see the BPM section up there, if you're not, unless your clock is hooked up, you won't see that at all if you have an external clock running the whole thing. But anyways, so I'm going to go to Shift and the voice menu. Sometimes I've noticed that there are some drastic volume bursts, and I'm not sure why, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. All right. So you can manipulate your sample that way. There's a little bit more fine tuning. Detuning. Do you like that detuned sound? I'm not going to get into these right now. So now what I am going to do is turn this volume down because I've had some issues where the volume just jumping when I chop. So this is the chop function. And once again, you hit Shift and go into voice. So let me just exit out again so you can see what I did. So I've got Shift and then voice, and it's the first one. I mean, so you can choose all these different options. It was the first one because it went back to the one I was on last. So normally it is not the first. So you have to turn this now until you get the chop and you hit enter. Right now chopping is off. However, you can change the number of chops. You can go all the way up to 64 chops. So I'm going to just go with 4. All right. And then I hit exit, and then you can see we've got the 4 chops. I'm going to stop the loop for just a minute, turn the volume back up. And now I've got it took the sample and chopped it into 4. And like I said, you can go with 16, 8, 4, 60, up to 64. So now you can see, you can kind of play this. So you can see how that's done. So it's pretty cool. And that's it. So that's all we're going to do for today. Let me get it back into regular loop mode. So now when you hit the sample button, it only plays that first sample. Now if you want to get back to normal, that full sample, so you have to once again go into voice. And like I said, it was not the last one I used. It's chopped. If you power it off, it probably resets, but I'm not quite sure. So now I'm going to hit enter. It's set at 4, and I'm going to go back down to off, exit, exit, and I should have, yep, I got the full sample to loop it again. All right, so that is recording a sample from the Wintermute Black by the Spherical Sound Society into the Roland P-6. Incredibly powerful portable device. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to know if there are new videos out. Until next time, this is Jet Chris, out.